G'day YouTube people, we're back in Eric Street once again looking at an article in the Subiaco Post yet again, and in this case a resident saw the green paint used on the path trickle down the hill after recent rain. So what do we make of this, fact or fiction? Well, I went out on site on a rainy day and what did I see at the bottom of the hill? Yep, some green pigment. So yeah, something has certainly run off the path, but what is it? Looks a lot to me like grit. And so what I suspect they've done is they've put a slip-resistant coating or whatever on the path, which makes perfect sense because it's a hill, it gets wet. You want to make sure you can brake coming down the path and not slip on it. And there's all sorts of coatings they possibly could have used. I've got no idea what they've used, but according to these Queensland roads technical specs, they allowed delamination of up to 1% in any square metre or 0.1% of the whole area. So is that within tolerance? Quite possibly. Now what the council could have done is just rip the whole street up and put down coloured asphalt instead. Maybe that's what they should do in the future. It might keep the whingers happy, but it just shows they'll whinge about everything whilst knowing absolutely nothing. And I remember when the Union Street cycleway was put down in Pyrmont, Union Street, Miller Street, and there was a section of bike lane coming up to a set of traffic lights, and it was on a hill, it was a bit of a bend, and the initial coating of green paint they put down was really slippery, and they had to come back and recoat it with something that was slip resistant because people were spinning out in the rain when they were trying to take off when they got a green light. Now the other thing the Subi Post is going on about is this is a green elephant because they're not seeing any cyclists riding up and down it at the moment. Well, why is that? Well, I'm here on a Saturday in the middle of the day. Now, normally, these car parks around Cottesloe would be absolutely full of cars. There'd be cars driving all over the place with drivers looking for a parking spot. They'd be going round and around the block, and people getting frustrated they can't park. The boardwalk along the foreshore would be absolutely covered in people. You can just see the bit of green stuff running off there. And look at it today. There's not a soul on the beach. There were a couple of hardy people that were out doing swims, but there's no one sitting out here. There's no one sitting outside of the cafe because it's miserable. And just look at how many people we see on our little roll along the boardwalk. They're out, for a stroll. Normally you can't ride along here because it's just too congested with pedestrians. Today I've almost got the place to myself. So why is there no one down here? Why is there no one driving around, right? Why is there no one walking? Why is there no one in the car parks? I mean, here we go. Here's a nice big car park. How many cars do we see in here? Well, there's a ranger driving around. There's maybe, I don't know, maybe 150 spots. And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 7, 12, I don't know, maybe 20 cars in the place. It's at what? Well, it's under 10% occupancy, I would say. Why is that? Well, because it's cold, it's wet, it's miserable, it's blowing a gale, my toes are freezing off. No one in their right mind's going to come down here, whether in a car or on a bike, and unless they're mad or tough or both. But so to say, no one's using the bike lane at the moment. Well, come back in summer and let's see what happens then. Now here's an even bigger car park, and I think this has got 355 spaces, and again, in summer, this is absolutely chock-a-block. What's it like today? It's absolutely, almost completely empty. So is this a black elephant? No, it's not, because clearly there are times of peak demand when people come down here when the weather's nice. I mean, it's a beach. That's why people are coming down here to get in the water, get a suntan, get an ice cream, go to the cafes, have a coffee, catch up with friends, etc. It's entirely weather dependent. So, for the critics, it's like, mate, just wait till spring and summer and have a look then and let's see what's happening. And if, nobody's using it then, well, it's a different story. But to say it's a green elephant at the moment in this absolutely miserable weather is probably a little bit rough.